What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Eric, and today it's time to review Creed 3, the newest movie in the Rocky Creed franchise, except it's the first that does not involve Sylvester Stallone in any way, which to me is a little bit of a red flag, a little bit concerning, but I had faith in Michael B. Jordan. I had faith that the movie would be good, and that's what it was. It was good. There still has not been a bad Rocky or bad Creed movie. But unfortunately, it's probably my least favorite of the Creed franchise for sure. I'll have to think where it would end up in a full ranking of every single movie in the franchise, which I'm going to do here pretty soon when I finish my Rocky review series, which I've already started. But this movie had some problems that I don't think any other movie in the franchise has had. That said, solid film, and I really do like the idea. You got to come up with something. You want something that brings some drama. You want a story that's not just Creed's career and he goes in boxes. I mean, you have to have a solid storyline without trying to rip off some of the old Rocky movies, which for several moments I thought it was going to do. I was like, are we doing Rocky 4? No, we're doing Rocky Balboa. Wait, no. Oh, we're doing Rocky 3. It's funny because, yeah, there are little elements even in the original Rocky. Oh, this is the original Rocky. That's hilarious. Like they took little elements from almost every Rocky movie, but they also had their own original story and a very unique story while kind of using a little bit of inspiration from other movies. And what you get is a pretty cool overall film that I really enjoyed kind of getting to dig a little deeper into Adonis Creed's life. We go back to him as a young kid and some of the things that happened then we never really seen. And he had a friend at that time who was a little bit older, up and coming boxer. He wasn't a pro, but he was a very solid boxer who had dreams of someday becoming the champ. Something happens. He ends up going to prison for 20 years. Adonis Creed moves on with his life and becomes the champ. And everything that's happened so far happens with Creed and Creed 2. But now this guy gets out of prison and he shows back up into Adonis Creed's life. Not only that, this dude who looks like he's about 50, I know Jonathan Majors, who portrays him, is not 50, but he really looks pretty old in this movie, to be honest. He looks at least in mid-40s. He gets out of prison like, hey man, I want a title shot. You want a title shot? And there's a little element from Rocky Balboa, like when Rocky was like 60, he's like, hey man, I'm thinking about fighting. Nothing big, like local. And I'll get into that whole thing and some of my problems with it. But the overall storyline of this guy coming back into Creed's life, and you don't really know his motivations, but you feel like there's some more to the story that we haven't gotten. And the development of this guy as kind of a villain. And then, of course, Creed, who has been retired, deciding to get back into the ring to take him on. And just the overall idea for the story I like. Unfortunately, I just don't think it was executed that well for my personal taste. For some people, they're going to love it. And I'll get into why, for my taste, it wasn't executed as well as it could have been. Again, that's just for me. But still, very enjoyable, very solid, never boring. And honestly, it didn't feel long at all. And if anything, I'll get into also, it should have been damn longer because I felt like it just moved so quick at times, which I'm going to get into. But honestly, like it was never boring. And that's a big thing. But at the same time, I felt like there wasn't enough because a movie's runtime is merited by the film, by the storyline. That's why you can be 3+ hours and be awesome, like The Godfather. Or you can be 3+ hours and be god-awful and the most boring movie ever made. And this movie should have been an hour and a half. You see those too. But this film was pretty gripping at times. And I just really liked the idea that they had. I really do. I think it's a great idea. I think it was a fantastic idea. I just think the execution was lacking in some ways. In some ways it was really good. And getting into his personal life, to his family life, and seeing his daughter a little bit older now and able to have her own personality and using sign language. And, she's having some issues at school and things like that. She's having to defend herself from bullies, and Deck's one of them in a really awesome moment. Okay, I do not, condone kids. Please don't punch your classmates, even if they do something messed up. But it was cool to see. And I love how the movie just kind of gives you a little information at a time. Because you don't really know the whole story. You don't know the whole story, but there is more to be told, and you kind of slowly get that information. And, by the end, the whole situation and what's going on. So I like how they do that. It just keeps you engaged with the story and just wondering, what exactly is going on here. There's some secrets from Adonis Creed's past that he hasn't yet revealed to his wife, and he hasn't yet revealed to the audience. We don't know either the whole story. We know something went down as a kid, but we don't know the whole background. It's just a solid entry into the franchise, okay? But I have some issues with it I'm going to get into. Now, one of them is this character coming back, Dame, played by Jonathan Majors, gets out of prison. He looks old. I know that Jonathan Majors is in his 30s, but this guy looks old, and he's been in prison for 20 years. If we assume he was 17 when, he went to prison, which I'm not sure, there probably is, that information is out there, but he could have been as old as 18, 19. I'm not really sure. But if we assume he's 17, that means he's 37 now, 20 years in prison. So he's in his late 30s, right? Late 30s, early 40s when he gets out of prison. And one of the first things he says, he goes out to eat with Adonis Creed and says, man, what are you going to do now? Creed asks him, what are you going to do now? He said, same thing I was going to do before. I'm getting into fighting. And Creed's like, really? And you know what? I got no problem. Hey, let's get this straight, right? So far, I ain't trying to kill no one's dreams, okay? If you went to prison for 20 years and you get out and you want to get back into fighting, dude, I'm all with you, man. It's all good. That's not the issue. The issue is then he says he wants a title shot. And he actually gets it. Like, what world are we in here? That's not, it's even said when he says that to Creed, like, that's not how it works. And we're sitting there watching like, yeah, that's not how it works. There's nothing wrong with it so far, because I can see somebody doing this, getting out of prison, be like, I want my title shot. It's not realistic in any world. It's just not. You can be like, what about Rocky and Rocky Balboa? Rocky was a former heavyweight champion of the world. Rocky was a famous fighter who accepted a charity match, and he had to go through a lot to get in that fight. I think, remember, the medical board pretty much denied him, and it took a lot of hard work for even Rocky Balboa to fight in a charity fight. So Rocky Balboa, I felt, was completely realistic in how it portrayed this older fighter wanting just to have this one match, just to kind of get out those demons and everything in Rocky Balboa. We're talking about a dude who's been in prison for 20 years. Who's never fought as a professional. I'm sorry. You don't just do that. And all of a sudden, there was a match that was supposed to happen. An injury occurred to Drago, who was going to fight the champ. And all of a sudden, Adonis Creed's like, let's just put in my friend here. What? No. They tried to make it somewhat feasible, I guess, and that some people were like, no, what are we doing? But they were like, let's do it. The champion was like, let's go ahead and do it. And that they just set it up, and all of a sudden he got a match. And I just felt like, dude, if you were going to do this, why not have him kind of come back into boxing slowly, working out, getting some fights, having some matches. He would get some you can probably hook him up with some little local matches. He starts kicking ass. This dude is like really gifted. He's strong. He stayed in great shape in prison. The dude is freaking stacked. He's buff. He's strong. He's hard as a rock. And he starts just whooping ass, moving up. He gets an actual pro fight, whoops someone's ass, gets another one, whoops someone's ass, starts getting some traction, and then he gets a title shot. Look, maybe that's not feasible for the movie. Could we gone closer to that? Could we have found some way to at least give him a couple matches? No, he got a title shot. And I was like, no way. No way. That is ridiculous. What about Rocky 1? Rocky 1, guess what? Rocky was also a professional fighter, active. He didn't just get out of prison after 20 years. He was pretty sure he was younger than Jonathan Majors is here. I think he was 30 years old in Rocky. This guy's obviously mid to late 30s at best. And Rocky was an active fighter. And Apollo Creed and his team decided they were going to give a local a shot. A local active fighter a shot. And they picked Rocky Balboa. Totally all legit. That completely could happen. You don't have to suspend any disbelief to watch any of these movies. You really don't. Here, you got to spend a ton of it. This is just not realistic. But he does get the title shot. And I won't get into the details of what happens, but I didn't find the fight to be very realistic either. But Turns out the guy's not so great after all. He's not such a great friend. He's kind of a punk. He's kind of a piece of crap for a while there. And of course, Adonis Creed now, I gotta do what I gotta do. That happened. That it was not very natural. His wife, like, do what you gotta do. Gotta do what? You gotta fight him? Why you gotta fight him? It's the only way he'll leave me alone. I didn't feel it was natural in the way that he decided to come out of retirement and fight this guy. But it was there. I mean, it happened. I didn't feel like the reasoning for the things that happened in this movie were believable. I just thought the movie was so far-fetched in the things that happened, more so than any other movie in this franchise. And then there was a scene at the end of the movie where I'm like, why didn't you just do that earlier? And, you know, I know the movie had to happen, but like, you went through all this training and had this big fight. Looks like y'all could have just settled that out of the ring, and everything would have been fine all of a sudden. Such as, you know, oh, you apologized? Why didn't you just apologize beforehand? You wouldn't have had to go through all this. There's just little logic gaps here that it just feels like everything was kind of manufactured to happen, and it didn't feel like this is how things would go. Every other movie I do, every other Rocky movie, I feel like, yep, that's what would happen. Yep, that's about what would happen. Yep, pretty much. Yeah, probably that's what would happen right there. Not here. It's like everything is like, no. And when I said the movie should be longer, it's not only because I think Dame just got this title shot so quick, so unbelievable, so ridiculous, would never happen, could never happen. Not like that. Not like that. It'd be the same like me saying, you know what? I'm 43 years old. I want to play baseball again. Now, if I just say that, I ain't played, you know, since I was 26. I want to get back into baseball and play again. Hey man, awesome, dude. There's probably some local league you can get into. No, I want to go pro. Bro, not just pro. I want to go to the big leagues and bat cleanup. Bro, it's not about killing your dreams, but even if that process was to happen, it would take time. It takes time. It takes other matches. And so we have that. Let me put that aside, though. I've already gone through that. But I'm just saying that's one reason the movie should be longer. But also there were storylines that just got straight abandoned. There were storylines. I talked about the little girl. She had a storyline, abandoned. There were other things going on. Screw that. Throw it out. And the movie just goes boom, 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 boom. It moves quick. And I don't mean time-wise. Again, the movie's probably about a couple hours long. But they stuffed so much into those 2 hours, and they just had to go boom, 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 boom. Like, okay, oh, we're going to have this fight. You're going to go pro? You're going to go pro? Okay, you got the fight. Ding, ding, ding. He's coming down the aisle. Like, wait, 5 minutes ago, he just got out of prison, and they were just hitting up at the... Okay, we're doing this. Ding, ding, ding. Fight, fight, fight. 5 minutes later, what the hell? But now they don't like each other. Okay, now we're here. Okay, now 5 minutes. Oh, shit, now we're here. Holy crap. Okay, oh, they're training. Oh, shit, here's the training montage. Oh, fighting. We're fighting. We're fighting. Wait a sec. We just, 20 minutes ago, it just feels like there's no development of the situations. And it's like, here you go, here you go, here you go. And you just take it. And I don't feel like in other Rocky movies, I don't know, for whatever reason, they just seem to develop the situations better so that when the time comes, it feels like it's time. It's time for the match. It's time for whatever to happen that happens to happen. It's like, it feels like it's been built up properly. And this one is just quick. I feel like the movie probably should have been about 2.5 hours if they were going to tell this story right that they told. That's just my opinion. Or they could have just ditched some of these side storylines. They didn't have to have the daughter's little storyline and her getting bullied at school. They didn't have to put that in there. If they were going to put it in there and start it, well, then finish it. But it doesn't get finished. It gets abandoned. So that was just weird. And lastly, I got to be honest, like the fight itself, especially the end, I didn't feel the drama that I usually feel at the end of a Rocky fight or a Creed fight even. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel like the music hit at the right moments. I didn't feel like there was a payoff that was really like, yeah. That could just be me. Maybe I'm just numb. Maybe just too many movies. But even when I go back and revisit Rocky and Rocky 2 and whatever, I still feel that like, hell yeah, that great moment. It didn't have that. And the training montages too were just lacking. They weren't anything special. I'm just saying they were bad. I'm not saying the fight was bad or the end of it was bad. This movie, maybe it just wasn't about that. Maybe this one wasn't about the training montage and the fight and the end of that. But I mean, that should be a pretty big part of any Rocky movie or Creed movie, I would think. But it's just more of a background into Creed's life. And that's really what this movie is. And it's got some big logic leaps, in my opinion, that you have to take. But other than that, it's just it's a cool movie and it's a cool ride. But it's like, it's not, it doesn't have the typical punch and emotional hit that most Rocky and Creed movies have had, in my opinion. So at the end of it, I just felt like, okay. I mean, it was good. It was good, and I liked the story. And Jonathan Majors was awesome in his role, and all the acting was really good. Acting was fantastic. The shots were good. The cinematography was good. It's another thing I had to say. This is some of the best cinematography in the franchise as far as just visuals and everything. Some of it, I think they used a lot of CGI in this movie, more so than probably any movie in the franchise. Sometimes that's kind of jarring. Like, can we, I'm used, let's keep it a little more grounded, just boxing. But we've had so many of these movies, they decided to take a little more of a unique approach with some CGI and some strange effects going on. And, we saw a little bit in the Rocky 5, I think, when, we saw the Mickey scenes and they go into this different kind of flashes and different kind of things that you see. This one went way overboard with that, in my opinion, but it's also interesting, something a little different. Some people will love it. Some people will hate it. For me, I didn't really like most of it, but you'll know what I'm talking about when you watch this movie. But overall, ladies and gentlemen, I think this movie is good. I don't think it's great. This is me. Good, not great to me. One of my least favorite in the entire franchise, but this entire franchise is freaking awesome. So there is no bad movies, and this is not a bad movie. It's good. I just don't think it's great. I just in my personal opinion. I like it a little less as I think about it more. But let me put it this way. If this wasn't a Rocky movie or a Creed movie, it was just a generic boxing movie, told the same story, different characters, obviously, same story, same execution, I'd have been like, hell yeah, that was a great box. That was freaking awesome, dude. That movie kicked ass. So I got to be honest, like in my mind, I'm comparing it to the other Creed movies, the other Rocky movies. But the movie is freaking really good. I mean, it's really good. Because if it was not a Rocky or a Creed movie, I would have been like, yeah, there's some logic leaps, but that happens in most movies. That would never happen, but oh well. But in Rocky and Creed, they don't do a lot of that. Some stuff you could say yes, but by and large, it's believable. And this one I didn't feel really was. That's all I can say about it. But let me know what you guys think of Creed 3. That's my review. Have a great day, everyone. Look forward to the rest of my Rocky review series. I did already review the first 2 Rockies. I want to do the rest of them and do a ranking at the end. I'm also going to be starting a Superman review series soon. And I'm talking about Christopher Reeve era. I just watched the original 1978 Superman again the other night. So I'm looking forward to that. Guys, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and we'll talk to you next